Welcome to lesson 92. We're officially closing the chapter on probability and opening up the chapter on statistics. And in this lesson, we're going to talk about statistical questions and variability. In other words, how do we know we have a good stats question? So watch in this lesson how I determine if a question is a valid statistical question or not, and how I can change a question if it's not a good statistics question, how I can turn it into one. And finally, how I determine whether or not that question is going to give me enough variability in my data. Deanna wants to collect statistical information about different sports students from her high school like to watch. She wrote 3 statistical questions to ask 75 students at her school. She will use the results to make predictions about the high schoolers, which questions are statistical and which are not. So there are lots of things to think about here when we're talking about good statistical questions. The first thing is, what are we using this data for? And we have our answer here. She's using it to make predictions about all high schoolers, so that she wants to learn about all high schoolers and the different sports students from her high school like to watch. So that she wants to get information about that. When we're asking statistical questions, we're going to look for a few things. We want to look for variability, meaning is there more than one possible answer? And you also want to know if it's a relevant question. Like, does it actually match the data you want? Like, is asking that question going to give you the information that you actually need? And you also want reliability. So thinking about, like, if I want to learn about high schoolers and what sports they like, does it make sense for me to go to an airport and ask businessmen what kind of sports they liked in high school? No, because they're not in high school anymore. So I can get data, but it probably wouldn't give me the data I want to make predictions about current high schoolers at my school. So we're going to think about some of these things, but the easiest one is going to be variability. So in this first question, what is your favorite sport to watch on TV? So I'm going to pretend I'm answering question A. I could say basketball. I could say football. I could say baseball. I could say soccer. Soccer is also on TV. So this kind of passes my variability test that I can have lots of different answers. So A works. How about for question B? What was the last sports game you watched at this school? So if I went to the school, I could have gone to the soccer game. I could have gone maybe lacrosse or volleyball or basketball. So depending on the school, yeah, that works as well. As long as they're different sports teams, people can come watch. How about C? When is the next football game? So there's only one response. So think about that, because you're asking when is the next game. If my school has a football team, there's only one answer to that that's going to be correct whenever that next game is. So that one, C, has to be rewritten because that's going to have a specific date with no variability. So let's think about ways we can rewrite that. So I could answer like, what is the next game you're going to watch? And I mean at the school. So that could be something I can ask. What else could I ask? What is the next sports game you want to watch? What is the next sports practice you might visit? So those are two statistical questions that I can use to rewrite question C. Because again, I'm looking for variability. I'm looking for a question where people can have lots of different answers to. And that will give me some idea about what kinds of sports they like to watch at our high school. Hit pause and jot this down, and you may have other possible questions that you can ask. Which of these are statistical questions you could ask to gather data on the types of transportation to school? So we want to know about transportation going to school. So let's think again about variability. More than one answer. Relevance. Is it going to give us the information we want? And reliability. Just thinking about who we're asking. And this one may not come up in this one, but let's see. Number 1. Does Thomas ride the bus to school? This is a very close question because my responses are going to either be yes or no, and I have to know Thomas. So no, that's not going to really tell me a lot about kids and what kinds of transportation they use. It only tells me about Thomas. That's not enough. Too specific. How do students in 6th grade get to school? Ooh, that one's good. Maybe they take the bus, maybe they walk, maybe they take a bike, maybe they get dropped off, they take the train. So this one's good because I can think of lots of different answers. Bus, train, walk, car, maybe Uber, lots of answers. Let's look at C. How many miles do you travel to and from school each day? So I can see kids giving different answers. They may say, I live 1 mile, I live 2 miles, I live 4 miles. So I can get different answers here. Is this giving us the information we want about types of transportation though? Well, not exactly. It can lead up to that. I can follow this up by asking, how do you get to school? So is it a question with variability? Yes, but not a lot of relevance. It's not exactly going to give us the information we want. So I'm going to cross this one out. What is the height of a school bus? Yeah, no. This one isn't going to give us any of the information we want. This is just about a school bus. One, a lot of kids aren't even going to know the answer to that. And 2, there's going to be just one correct answer. Even if I asked them to estimate, it wouldn't help me with learning about transportation. Do students own bicycles? Okay, so this is again going to be a yes or no question. But is that answer going to tell me that's how they get to school? That's the problem. So because of relevance there, my argument is, although it could be a decent question, not a great statistical question for what we want. So it tells us about one type of transportation, but doesn't give us a lot of other data. So in this case, I would say the best one is B. I can kind of see C being helpful for figuring out how many miles, but then I'd want to follow that up with how they're getting to school each day. Okay, Math Marbles, I hope all this thinking is helping. These are the types of things that you're going to ask yourself and think about as you're having discussions in today's lesson about really good statistical questions. Practice with your teammates as well. If you come up with an answer, see how much variability you get in answers. Will different people in your class have different answers if you were to ask them in class? That's it for today. I'll see you in the next one. Be well.